right, happy Monday. Thanks for jumping on. I'm with Brian Neitch here. Evening, Brian.
Howdy, howdy. It is a good afternoon. God is good. Man, you know what? Even in the midst of dark clouds, he saves his people.
Yeah.
It's a great.
Oh, I love it. I was talking to my dad over the weekend, and he said that him and his wife want to get baptized.
Oh,
and it
wow.
just made my heart so happy. And they're actually going to start reading the Bible and doing studies together. And, my dad got saved just a few years ago. And
That's
so
great.
He's just, I don't know, man, just God's working through my dad. It's just so good to see him just so happy and just wanting to have a, bigger and closer relationship with God.
Right.
And then so with I guess you could say my stepmom, Kim, his wife, wants to do the same. And it's just joyful. It makes me so happy when people not only get saved, of course, but then continue to build the relationship with God and want to and have desire to. And that's what it's all about.
Yes, it really is. Yeah, life's tough and people struggle, but you know what? It's exciting when someone says, "Wow, who is this one who created everything and it changes their lives forever?" And man, it just can permeate through the whole family.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
You get so excited, and it was kind of like this last weekend. We went to my grandma Nani's funeral, and it was sad and emotional, and it was really hard. And it was a beautiful funeral. And then there was just something happened that we got back to my mom's house, and we just had a celebration of life, and we just were telling stories and just telling past stories and funny things and great times and memories and about my grandma, and just knowing that she's in heaven and that she was a Christian and that she's in a better place, and what she's gone through the last few years with mental illness, and just a celebration of joy of just getting to know the Lord and being saved and having that relationship and knowing what's beyond this earth is just joyful. I mean, I felt like my pictures on social media, I was kind of like looking back, like, gosh, it looks like we're having fun, and too much fun, but it was just such a joyful evening celebrating my grandma, and I guess that's kind of the mood that we were in there, just knowing that there's eternal life after this world. And I just love when people build relationships with God, and I do on a daily basis. And Brian, that's why I love reading every day with you every morning. Sorry about this morning on the schedule. We had to kind of pivot and do it after at this time, but that's just the beauty in it,
Absolutely. God is good. He changes your outlook. It's so good to hear that. Before we get into Passover, because that's a big outlook change, and he changes your outlook. You don't have to struggle alone. You don't have to just be an isolated person, even in the midst of, a loss. Even though we know where people go, there is a loss, but you have family, and you don't have to. You know that God is there to lift you up. It's great, man. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we are. So Brian Neitch, and give us a follow on the Instagram account.
Black, white.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, black, white, and sometimes red.
Red. Love that. Black, white, and sometimes red. Give us a follow. Shoot us a DM. Reach out to us in times of trouble, in times of need, prayer, anything. Just please connect with us. We love it. People do, and we love it. So please keep it coming. Reach out. Use that Instagram as direct line to me and Brian. I absolutely love it. So here we are in Exodus, the first Passover, chapter 12, and we're reading out of the New Living Translation. And if you're just joining us for the first time, we're reading the Bible all the way through, chapter by chapter, book by book, verse by verse, all the way through. It's going to take us about, a year and a half to 2 years. We're trying to make a steady pace, a few chapters a day, but at the same time, not too steady where we want to pull back layers and dive deep and have discussions. So a little bit of blend of both there, but here we are.
Exactly.
But here we are. So
here we are, Exodus chapter 12. So a tiny recap. I know it's been a couple. It's been a little bit where. So God has rained down 9 plagues, and He's about to do the 10th. He said to Pharaoh here, through Moses and Aaron, let my people go. Let them go worship. And now, and he says, just let them go worship for 3 days. Right? Let them go worship for 3 days. Let them go out there and take sacrifices. Sacrifice to me, because for the remittance of sin. And Pharaoh has not done that. Pharaoh has said, nope. I don't think so. He says, yes, you can go. No, you can't. Yes, you can go. No, you can't. So back and forth. Pharaoh's back and forth. And so now God's like, okay, it's over, Pharaoh. It is time. You're going to let them go for good. And you're going to give them all your gold and silver and all your jewels. And you're going to let them go. And here's how it's going to happen. So we're about to find out.
Yeah, and here we are. You want to? Yeah,
you want to read 12?
Yeah. You want to pray it in real quick?
Yeah, let's do it. Lord, Father in heaven, we love you. Man, you're so good. You sent your son Jesus. Thank you for that. Thank you for opening our eyes. For everyone that's joining us and participating, Lord, and just like following along and letting the Word of God cleanse them and change their hearts and their minds. Thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Beautiful. Boom, boom. You want me to go 12?
Mm-hmm.
You go 13. Okay, the first Passover. While the Israelites were still in the land of Egypt, the Lord gave the following instructions to Moses and Aaron. From now on, this month will be the first month of the year for you. Announce the whole community of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, each family must choose a lamb or a young goat to sacrifice, one animal for each household. If a family is too small to eat a whole animal, let them share with another family in the neighborhood. Divide the animal accordingly to the size of each family and how much they can eat. The animal you select must be 1 year old male, either a sheep or a goat, with no defects. And when they say goat, they don't mean Tom Brady. Sorry about that. I digress. It's a bad joke.
No comment.
Okay. All right, here we go. Verse 6. Take special care of this chosen animal until the evening of the 14th day of this first month. Then the whole assembly of the community of Israel must slaughter their lamb or young goat at twilight. They are to take some of the blood and smear it on the sides and top of the door frames of the houses where they eat the animal. Okay, sorry, I lost my place here. Eat the animal. Verse 8. That same night they must roast the meat over a fire and eat it along with bitter salad greens and bread made without yeast. Do not eat any of the meat raw or boiled in water. The whole animal, including the head, legs, and internal organs, must be roasted over a fire. Do not leave any of it until the next morning. Burn whatever is not eaten before morning. Verse 11, these are your instructions for eating this meal. By fully dressed, wear your sandals, and carry your walking stick in your hand. Eat the meal with urgency, for this is the Lord's Passover. On that night I will pass through the land of Egypt and strike down every firstborn son of the firstborn male animal in the land of Egypt. Let me read number 12 again really quick.
Yeah, do it.
On that night I will pass through the land of Egypt and strike down every firstborn son and firstborn male animal in the land of Egypt. Sorry, I kind of read that fast. I wanted to go over that. I think I skipped son there. I will execute judgment against all the gods of Egypt, lowercase g, for I am the Lord, exclamation mark. But the blood on your doorposts will serve as a sign marking the houses where you are staying. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. This plague of death will not touch you when I strike the land of Egypt. 14. This is a day to remember. Each year, from generation to generation, you must celebrate it as a special festival to the Lord. This is a law for all time. For 7 days, the bread you eat must be made without yeast. On the first day of the festival, remove every trace of yeast from your homes. Anyone who eats bread made with yeast during the 7 days of the festival will be cut off from the community of Israel. On the first day of the festival, and again on the 7th day, all the people must observe an official day for holy assembly. No work of any kind may be done on these days except in the preparation of food. 17. Celebrate the festival of unleavened bread.
Unleavened.
Unleavened bread. For it will remind you that I brought your forces out of the land of Egypt on this very day. This festival will be a permanent law for you. Celebrate this day from generation to generation. The bread you eat must be made without yeast from the evening of the 14th day of the first month until the evening of the 21st day of that month. During those 7 days, there must be no trace of yeast in your homes. Anyone who eats anything made with yeast during this week will be cut out of the community of Israel. These regulations apply both in the foreigners living among you and the native-born Israelites. The foreigners and the born Israelites. During those days, you must not eat anything made with yeast. Whenever you live, eat only bread without yeast. Okay, set 21. Then Moses called all the elders of Israel together and said to them, Go, pick out a lamb or young goat for each of your families, and slaughter the Passover animal. Drain the blood into a basin. Then take a bundle of hyssop branches and dip them into blood. Brush the hyssop across the top and sides of the door frames of your houses, and no one may go out through the door until morning. Verse 23, for the Lord will pass through the land to strike down the Egyptians, but when he sees the blood on the top and the sides of the door frame, the Lord will pass over your home. You will not permit his death angel to enter your house and strike you down. Death angel. 24. Remember, these instructions are a permanent law that you and your descendants must observe forever. When you enter the land of the Lord he promises to give you, you will continue to observe the ceremony. Then your children will ask, what does this ceremony mean? And you will reply, it is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord, for he has passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt. And though he struck the Egyptians, he spared our families. He spared our families. When Moses had finished speaking, all the people bowed down to the ground and worshipped. 28. So the people of Israel did just as the Lord had commanded through Moses and Aaron. And that night, at midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn sons in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn son of... Sorry, one sec, Brian. Okay, you know what? Let me finish reading this. I'm almost done, and then I'll go downstairs, okay? Thank you, baby. Love you. Okay, sorry about that. Here we go. 29. I'll start at this 28 here. So the people of Israel did just as the Lord had commanded through Moses and Aaron. And that night at midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn sons in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn son of the prisoner in the dungeon. Everyone. Everyone. Even the firstborn of their livestock were killed. 30. Pharaoh and all of his officials and all of the people of Egypt woke up during the night, and a loud wailing was heard throughout the land of Egypt. There was not a single house where someone had not died.
Israel's Exodus. You want me to this is super long.
Yeah, it's a big one. Ooh. Yeah,
let's do it. I was mistaken. So a lot happened there. A lot of people died. Israel's Exodus from Egypt. Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron during the night. Get out, he ordered. Leave my people and take the rest of the Israelites with you. Go and worship the God that you have requested. Take your flocks, your herds, as you said, and be gone. Go. But bless me as you leave. All the I'm sorry, I couldn't. He says, but bless me as you leave.
Wow.
Oh, yes, master. Yes, master.
Yes, master of flesh.
33. All the Egyptians urged the people of Israel to get out of the land as quickly as possible, for they thought, we will all die. The Israelites took their bread dough before yeast was added. They wrapped their kneading boards in the cloaks and carried them on their shoulders, and the people of Israel did as Moses had instructed. They asked the Egyptians for clothing and articles of silver and gold. The Lord caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the Israelites and gave the Israelites whatever they asked for. So they stripped the Egyptians of their wealth. The night the people of Israel left Ramses and started for Succoth, there were about 600,000 men, plus all the women and children, so over 1 million, I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. A ramble of non-Israelites went with them, along with great flocks and herds of livestock. For bread, they baked flat cakes. For the dough, without sounds good, and without yeast, they had brought Diet from Coke. Egypt. It was made without yeast because the people were driven out of Egypt in such a hurry that they had no time to prepare bread or other food. The people of Israel had lived in Egypt 430 years. In fact, it was on the last day of the 430th year that all the Lord's forces left the land. Beautiful. This New Year's Passover. On this night, the Lord kept his promise to bring his people out of the land of Egypt. So this night belongs to him, and it must be commemorated every year by the Israelites from generation to generation. Instructions for the Passover. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "These are the instructions for the festival of Passover. No outsiders are allowed to eat the Passover meal, but any slave who has been purchased may eat it if he has been circumcised, or brought into the covenant. Temporary residents and hired servants may not eat it. Each Passover lamb must be eaten in one house. Do not carry any of its meat outside, and do not break any of its bones. The whole community of Israel must celebrate this Passover festival. If there are foreigners living among you who want to celebrate the Lord's Passover, let all their males be circumcised. Only then may they celebrate the Passover with you like any native-born Israelite. But no uncircumcised male may ever eat the Passover meal. This instruction applies to everyone, whether a native-born Israelite or a foreigner living among you. Verse 50, so all the people of Israel followed the Lord's commands to Moses and Aaron. On that very day, the Lord brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt like an army. Wow, massive chapter here, huh? The Passover.
Yeah. Well, and God said he was going to do it, and he did it. Just like throughout the Bible, there's, God's word always holds true. And it's a beautiful thing that, God is good. He brought all the Israelites out of Egypt, and here we are. It's just an amazing thing. I'm so glad for the Israelites that they don't have to go through the torture that they've been through for how long, Brian? Hundreds of years? Thousands? From the first Pharaoh to this Pharaoh, I don't know what's the timeline.
Well, 430.
Okay,
so maybe 50, 40, 30, something like that years, 30 to 50 more years. When they showed up in Egypt, I don't know the exact date, right? But Joseph had to die, and then a Pharaoh after him had to go on, and then they had to forget about Joseph and any deal. So at least a generation or two.
Yeah.
At least 40 years.
A long time of just horrible slavery.
It was 430 years of slavery, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine? It's just horrible. It's horrible. And so, God rescued the Israelites, and also not just that, but just this is God's plan, because this sets up for everything, well, for right now, 2021. Everything that from Genesis 1 to chapter 1 to where we are now and to where we are currently now as we sit here is all connected. It's God's plan. And so this had to happen. And I'm just so happy that God saved the Israelites and got them out of Egypt, and here they go. And of course the Pharaoh is so stubborn. Even Brian, like you said, he's asking them to, dude, just let it go, man. How many people, in a way, maybe this is incorrect. Maybe this is my emotions getting the best of me, Brian, but how many people have you killed, Pharaoh? From your stubbornness, from your cold heart, from your lack of belief, from your turning your back to God, to blasphemy to God. Right? Because it says that the Lord has turned your heart cold and stubborn. But guess what? There is something called free will. There is something called the devil, all mixed together. And, that was Pharaoh. And so how many people have you killed, Pharaoh? And you're asking for it to be blessed. I mean, that's how psychotic this guy is. That's how evil. Think about it. That's how evil this man is. And probably many people of Egypt at the time were just straight evil. Not saying everybody. And like we've talked about before, just because God takes out people in Egypt doesn't mean they're going to hell. Where does it say that? We've talked about this many times before. Just because God takes people, oh gosh, He's taking people out left and right. Well, I mean, a giant percentage of those people are probably up in heaven right now. So don't forget that. But I mean, there was evil amongst Egypt at this time. Don't get that wrong. Just like the flood, just like, what God does with the people burying their children inside the homes coming up here in the future, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so God is good, and God will fight evil. This is a spiritual battle, and it's just amazing that he got the Israelites out. And you know what? I have to admit something. Later on, Egypt is actually better off for it. But I digress.
I mean, well said. Well said, Minister John.
Give me a coffee. By the way, speaking of caffeine, the new Wild and Watermelon Bang is really good.
Is it? Wild and Watermelon. I saw that picture.
Yeah, that's good. Jason White.
Wild and Watermelon. I have a Dunkin' Donut black hot coffee right now.
I love the Dunkin' Donuts. I love it. When I go to the East Coast, it's, donut and coffee.
You bet.
Donut and coffee.
I don't know too much about their donuts. I'd rather get a bagel from them, but the coffee's good. Yeah. I'm telling you, the best concoction ever is black iced coffee from Dunkin' Donuts with C4.
Oh, C4.
Telling you, I know you made that work, and it's so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just bad stuff going on in Egypt, but God just decimated that land. He said, "Okay, whatever it takes, I'm going to get these people out," and He did.
And He did. Period.
They're out. They're out, baby. They're out. So now you have this conglomerate, this 1 million man army, essentially marching out of Egypt. And
it's that many people.
They are rich.
Brian, I forget how many there is.
So many people.
For some odd reason, when I'm thinking about like the sea parting, and them traveling out of Egypt, I think it was like Moses, Aaron, and like a crew, little group of like
25, camel,
30 deep, just rolling in with leather jackets, just
all in their Mercedes.
Yeah, it's just millions. Wow. Jeez.
No, bro, this is a lot of folks. So all of a sudden, think about this. Think about the pressure. Moses just shows up, and now he goes from a man on the run, a goat herder, gets married, goat herder, sees God, leader of 1 million people. Oh, shoot. You thought those 100 sheep were crazy in the woods, No, now it's... and that's not 100 goats; it's 1 million people, or however many. It could be 900,000. It could be 1.5.
God
million.
can do it without Moses, but God uses Moses like He uses man on a daily basis. Don't forget that, people. God uses people, works through people. Obviously, how do you think God wrote the Bible?
Yeah, well said. You see, that's the thing, though. That's why He intervenes, because He doesn't just drop money from the sky.
Yeah,
he did, right. He. That's why you give to everybody. You help with food. You talk to other people. You share your home. You go to the gym. You interact. It's people on talking and interacting with people.
He goes through people. It's not the Truman Show. God can do anything. It's He doesn't want to do it that way. Why does He? Oh gosh, sorry, I always bring this up. But on Sunday, Brett was talking about how there's that Denzel movie with the submarine, and you need 2 keys to light off the nuclear bomb.
Oh yeah,
there's one key, and then the other guy has to put a key in, and it's far enough away where you can't be one guy with stretched out arms. So you both have to do it together to release the nuclear weapon, right?
Unless you're Ian Wilson.
And, yeah, exactly. And his whole point is God? He wants to do it with us. You got a key, Brian, and God has a key, and let's put it into the submarine together.
Yeah.
Right? God can do both keys. God just needs one key, but God is like, hey, let's do this together. Let's do this together. I'm going to work through you, and let's do this together. Why does He want us? I don't know. His love is so joyful and amazing that He actually wants to do it with us, side by side. How amazing is that? And that's why He works through us.
Well, that you have to communicate with Him. That means you have to work with Him. You have to say 1, 2, 3, ready, go.
Well,
or listen to him.
Brian, isn't it crazy that God wants an intimate relationship with us? Like sometimes I feel like God doesn't even know I exist, or sometimes I feel like God doesn't know who I am, or is not listening. But no, it's the exact opposite, right? He actually wants an intimate relationship with you, the listener. I mean, sometimes I understand as humans that's hard to process.
Yeah, it is. Well, we're physical. We live in the physical.
Yeah, that's true.
So you have to take the time, stop your day-to-day, your TV, your Netflix, your Instagram, your texting, your Facebook. Right. You have to take a moment and be still and listen. Just hey Jesus, hey Brian.
Hey, yeah, right. Be still. That's why we're doing this right now at noon, but
yeah,
because I couldn't do it at 6. But I tell you right now, I love doing it early. Yeah. There's just something about this Bible study podcast that's just, I think everybody can agree too. It's just better in the morning.
Yeah, it does. It creates a whole mindset for the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's so good. It creates a whole let's get going. Let's start the day right.
Well, I think this says a lot. I mean, where do you begin on this chapter? First of all, evil is nothing for God, and even though there is evil and there's a spiritual battle, God is undefeated. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, God will conquer evil. And these people of Egypt are evil.
He is undefeated.
He is a man of his promises, getting the Jewish people out of Egypt. But it also goes to show you that he will save Israel. He will protect Israel. He did it then, and guess what? He's doing it now. I mean, this is where we are right now. He's doing it now. And he's a little teeny Israel surrounded by a bunch of people that want to wipe it off the face of the earth, and they can't. And they never have, and they never will.
They can't.
And they can't touch it. And, he will protect his people. The covenant lives forever. And it's an amazing thing. It's just, he loves us all, but there's just that, there's that bloodline that seems to be... it's just strong, and what God says here, He always, stands. He always is true to His word.
Always, He is the amazing everything, true to His word, and He protects you. He protects His people. Don't let anybody tell you different. I don't care where they come from or who they are. God protects His people. You just have to believe and have faith in Him. Now, I'm not saying hardships don't come. Yes, relationships happen, problems happen, financial problems happen, but He will protect you and guide you. You just got to be still and listen. Mm-hmm. All right, so Exodus 13, should we read one more?
Yeah. Can we touch on something real quick? I want to get your opinion.
Yeah, let's go
ahead. I think we had this conversation with our men's group that we do on the team. The death angel.
Yeah. Well, what was that?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. I think, okay, first of all,
because when I think of angel, I know this is bad, Brian, but I think of Nicolas Cage in the movie.
Oh my God.
What's it called?
I can't.
City of Angels?
I can never think of Nicolas Cage as an angel. I mean, he's got his hair. He doesn't really have hair. He's got these weird wigs that he wears. I love Nicolas Cage. Not only as a person, but he's a great. In fact, last night I watched National Treasure because why? It's a great movie.
Thank you. Yes. I'm a Cage fan. But
and
I guess my point is that I guess when I think of an angel, I think of good. But then again, a death angel doesn't mean bad. There's no such thing as a bad angel. Let me rephrase that.
Well, I don't think this means like the angel of hell or death. No. I think this is the judgment angel.
Okay, that's what
the one who's bringing judgment. Because think about it, judgment is decreed by God, right? The sacrifice, whatever happened, this firstborn is going to die. That's the only thing that's going to have you release Israel from your grips. I mean, this guy's think about it. Slavery, murder was committed. You have to assume, rape was committed, beatings, just not. You know what happens with slavery?
Yeah,
we can ask anybody. Slavery means I own you. I do whatever I want with you.
That's horrible.
So God had to pull the Israelites from the grips of this false god Pharaoh. So, this was the judgment. This is the only thing that would have caused him to let go.
So if God takes somebody up to heaven, or God just takes somebody, okay, hold on. Let's mafia style, he whacks somebody,
takes them out,
takes them out,
sends them to the fishes.
Now, let me ask you a question though. We're going to get a little deep, and maybe we're not going to get to 13 because of this.
It's fine.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. You're the pastor, I'm not. God doesn't kill people. Or no, wait, hold on. God doesn't send people to hell. That person with the free will sends themselves to hell. So the death angel comes. Okay, let me just put it this way. Hitler. Let's say that, the last few hours of his death, he never turned to God at the last minute. I think we can all assume that, even though who am I to judge? But I think we can all assume that Hitler didn't make it to heaven. Of course.
Right, let's assume. We can all assume.
We can assume. I highly doubt before Hitler, quote unquote, shot himself, because there's conspiracies on that as well, he didn't say, Jesus, I believe in you, forgive me. Mm-hmm. He could have. Of course, I don't think he did. But let's just say Hitler kills himself. The death angel comes down. Hitler is the one that sent himself to hell. God did not send Hitler to hell. But when the death angel comes to take out Hitler, what is the death angel doing with Hitler? Is the death angel like taking him down to hell?
Well, that's a good question. Well, first of all, let's resolve this Hitler thing. I think we're just going to say Hitler's probably in hell, and if he committed suicide, right, he killed himself. Then yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's suicide, good or bad or whatever. That's fine, but yeah. So he was, if he went to hell, which 99.9% sure he probably did. Yeah, so what happens is, and this is there's nothing in the Bible does talk about the bars in hell, the cells in hell. It's pretty clear, right? It's all these universalists that say, oh, everybody's going to heaven. I mean, it's not true. It's not, I mean, I hate to say that.
Oh, where the heck is that? I haven't read that.
Yeah, there's a whole universalist that's an idea out there who think that God's all merciful and he forgave. Jesus' blood forgave everyone, and they don't have to do anything but just live and die, and you go to heaven because he's the freak. But anyway, so what I know is you go straight to heaven or hell, or before Jesus rose from the dead and set the captives free, you go to either hell, Sheol, or the lower parts of hell. Mm-hmm. We only have one word for hell. And then, or you go to paradise, which would be Abraham's bosom. Okay. And then now, since Jesus in the book in the book of Hebrews says that he led captivity captive and he gave gifts to men, and he took paradise and brought it into heaven. Now you go straight to heaven. Mm-hmm. There's no secondary place. So the angels escort you, or the demons escort you. That's the only thing I can assume, and I only assume that based on testimony of countless people.
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just saying testimony of countless people who say they were escorted to heaven, or paradise.
Wow, this is interesting.
Or they were pulled down. There's many people, John, who are devil worshippers, occult members, murderers, just people who lived in the world where God. They were pulled. Kenneth Hagin is a minister also who talks about this. He literally got sucked down into hell, fell. He was falling, and just about there he pulled back up. He was dying of heart failure as a little kid. This happened 3 times to him, and the last time he called out for the name of the Lord, Jesus, save me. Because he'd been taught it his whole life, but never really accepted him. And then he was brought back up, and God healed him. Anyway, it's a long story, but my point is there are many people who say you drop straight down or you're pulled down, kind of like the movie Ghost. You're taken down. Taken
by the angel of death? Or by a demon? Because here's my question. Okay,
could be demonic beings.
Okay, but the angel of death here is passing over the Jews, of course, obviously. Yeah. Now, but it kind of goes back to my point of we sometimes think that every Israel living in this every Israel man that's like 14 and over, because we all know the kids go right to heaven, right? But anybody, I think, roughly 14, 15, I don't know the number up, was like, oh yeah, God took them out there in hell. It's not true. My question to you is, Brian, is the death angel passing over the Jews, is the death angel going to these kids, these Egyptian sons that are being quote unquote killed, and the death angel is taking these Egyptian kids to heaven?
No, I don't think that's what's happening. I think that he's slaying. No, he's slaying them. No, they're going where they're going.
But they're going where they're going. But
I don't think he's taking
the kids go to heaven, though. So that's what the death angel.
Do. Absolutely, the kids go to heaven.
Right.
Though, and I do. The Bible talks. There's an accountability, right? Because a 10-year-old kid, for the most part, or a 7-year-old kid, doesn't know God, doesn't know good or evil that I have to choose. So they go to heaven, of course. I can't. I'll get the verse in this passage that talks about it, but clearly that's just common sense that you as an adult. At a certain point, you have to realize, okay, there is a God. I know who He is. There is a Satan. I'm going to choose God instead of my own life.
Right.
There is that. So
right, yeah. I wish I had the biblical stuff to talk about the children going to heaven. But I guess my whole question is, and these are just questions I have, people listening.
Of course,
okay, this is just me asking questions, brainstorming. None of this. I just am interested. The death angel, to me, because they're passing over the Jews. They're going to the Egyptians. The sons that are murdered. Now, a lot of the sons are older, so they're held accountable. But there's a lot of sons being murdered that are young babies. And my whole question is, the death angel of God, is going to take the babies to heaven. And then the adult sons that have turned their back, that are old enough to believe or not believe, they take themselves to hell, because God doesn't take anybody to hell. Am I onto something here?
Well, okay, so yeah. So I think you're right. So a couple things.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. So first of all, what's happening right here is what I believe the similar situation that was about to happen in 2 Kings 6, which is Elijah. He doesn't believe, that they're going to be saved. God opens his eyes when Gehazi, his mentor, says, "Lord, show him." He sees just tons and tons of warring angelic beings, God's messengers, about to attack a city of people, right? So does God's people, do God's angels or God's spiritual force, can they attack and kill people?
You're right.
Clearly they can.
They can.
So in my point, the death angel here is going around slaying and bringing God's judgment. You can't say, these kids are innocent. Well, their parents and Pharaoh have overlorded them, and they have caused God to act. So, sadly, people are lost. It's war.
Okay. So you have a good point with all the wars of God's angels doing the battle. Great point, actually. So I guess my next question would be this then. That's interesting that you say that. You're so right. I forgot about that. So you're saying that maybe the death angel comes in, does the slaughtering, does the slaying,
and I think
does the slaying. But are you agreeing with me though that even though the death angel is doing the slaying across the board, then the babies will be taken up by the death angels, and then the people going to hell, well, that's the demons taking them down, because that's on them.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I think though.
So they have two missions. Hey guys, hey death angels.
I don't think it's I don't think the death angels necessarily escort people. I don't think the same. They could, but I don't know if it's the same role. I know this. From what I know, according to the Bible and according to plenty of testimonies, if the death angel slays hundreds of thousands of people, or however many died here, right? Let's say 100,000 people died, firstborn.
Okay.
Then I believe that if these kids are going to heaven and these young people are going to heaven, or these people are going to heaven, whoever's going to heaven at this moment in Egypt,
right,
then the angelic beings, God's messengers, are coming and they're escorting them straight to heaven, or to Abraham's bosom. I can't say that it's a death angel. I don't know. I think they have different roles, different missions.
Interesting.
And I don't think though that they're escorting them into hell. I think that the demonic realm is pulling.
Oh,
them,
I
or
agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. And but that was my question. Hitler was a bad example, and anybody out there that's utterly shocked that we would even think that Hitler would possibly go to heaven. First of all, don't be shocked. My point is this: we say 99.999999999% sure he's in hell. I think we all can agree with that. But
right,
look, I hate to say this on a microphone right now, but if Hitler truly, with his heart, which I don't think he did, truly believed in his heart that Jesus is Lord, and he gave his life and believed in Jesus and asked for forgiveness. This coming out of my mouth right now, like I feel like I'm going to get hate mail, but he would go to heaven. God is a forgiving God, and I know that sounds absolutely insane, but it's true. But because there are people in the Bible, Brian, that were horrible, that turned to God last minute and went to heaven. It's biblical. I don't know the names and the stories, but I know I've heard them. I know it. I should know it, and I'm learning as we go. But that's a fact. It's a biblical fact. So I'm just saying, before I get hate mail, understand. But that is the power of God and the power of Jesus, that somebody so bad could actually turn to Jesus and be taken up. And now, did he? Yeah. Of course not. I don't think he did. I would bet my life on it, of course. But sure. I'm just making a point.
If it's a true conversion, I mean, if you literally, I don't, and here's the thing: we're not God. We're just giving the facts.
Right.
He's the one. You can't get mad at us.
I wouldn't forgive him.
You can't get mad. Yeah, exactly. I'm not God. Yeah. Or I'd be mad at everybody.
I'd be like, yeah, I ain't forgiving you.
Heck no. You drink Diet Coke, you're going to hell. Mm-hmm. No, it's good. I like it. So, you know what I'm saying? It's exactly. So it's God's word. It's his decision. And if the person enters into heaven for whatever reason, that's between him and God.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And yeah, did he send, millions of Jews to the gas chamber and so on? Yes. But is that too much sin for the blood of Jesus to cover?
Well,
and forgive? No, it's not. But right. I don't know if I doubt it happened though.
Well, it says Romans 9? Or Romans 11 somewhere. It says, God will save Israel. In the end times. So, Hitler thinks he killed the Jews, but actually no, he didn't. So God's got the Jews taken care of. So.
Well, it also says, John, though, Romans 3 says, salvation has come upon all and unto all. So does that, I know we digress here, but does that mean that all people are saved? Salvation has come upon all and unto all.
Well, God was being specific when he says Israel.
But he says all upon all and unto all. That's pretty specific. All. Salvation has come upon all. Romans chapter 3. It's anyway. It's another topic for another day.
Well, he says all, but you have to accept Jesus. Everybody has the opportunity to accept Jesus.
Right. He does.
But he's saying that God said, I forget what it's Romans something right there. I should know this.
Romans not 11. I think
it says that. What does it say in Romans 11? It says God will save.
John, you got to memorize that verse. That's
I know.
That's your
well, it's yours
motto.
too. It's yours too. I'm biblical about it.
But
these aren't opinions. I'm saying when God says He will save the nation of Israel, doesn't say some. He says the nation of Israel. And we bring the covenant in there. My point is that God has a plan for the Jews. The covenant still exists today. It says biblically that God will save the nation of Israel, dead or now. And so my whole point is that when Hitler thinks he's awesome by killing the Jews, he didn't kill one Jew because, well, biblically, the Jews will be taken care of.
So I don't want to belabor this point, but if you're a Jew, John, in your eyes, just question, just hypothetical. If you're a Jewish person, now or later, whatever, we'll just say now, and you're a murderer,
okay,
and you murder people, and you contempt for any religious Jewish practice, right? Because even though you've done it your whole life, and you're just like, I do what I want, I murder people. and so on and so forth. And you get away with it,
right?
And you live your life out and you die.
Okay.
Or you die now and you go. What happens?
I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from.
You get saved. It's all Israel saved. God says, "Oh, no biggie. You know what? You're a Jew. You're fine." It's just a question.
Oh, it's a good question. I don't know how to answer it.
Okay, that's good. That's fine.
I don't know how to answer that.
It's fine. I can, but it's all right. We don't have to answer it.
I guess not. But I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I guess the answer would be no. But the Bible's clear, though. The Bible is very clear with this point, though. Like, you have a good question, but I'm just being biblical with my opinion.
I understand.
So, I mean, like, to me, it's not like, oh, John's got a crazy view on this or John's got a crazy opinion. I'm literally, I know that I'm not like word for word. We can pull up the verses here, but I am ballparking the verses. It is very straightforward here on what it says. God blinds some and deafens them, and there's a plan. The covenant lasts forever. I mean, I can go on with multiple lines that make it very clear that the Jewish people are the chosen people, and God has a plan, and every knee will bow to Jesus, and He has the nation of Israel taken care of. With your question that you asked me, though, it's a good question, and I don't know the answer. I guess I just don't know how to. I don't know how to answer that. I guess you're right. Maybe if you're a Jewish person that's just a straight murderer, and you don't believe in God, will God save you? Or I should say, a better way of saying is open your eyes to Jesus in.
Well, I have another one.
In the times of Revelation. In the times of Revelation, will God open the eyes of that Jewish man? I guess that would be my answer. Is that murdering Jewish guy that was horrible and didn't believe in God? In the Revelation, it does say that God will open His eyes and ears to that Jewish person in the Revelation.
Let me ask you this: what if he died today?
Well, I already gave you the answer to that with talking to my wife. I said
okay.
Today or then.
Gotcha.
Post Jesus or in the Revelation, 7-year tribulation. God can do all things.
Yes,
He has a way of working that out. I don't know how to answer that.
That's fine. One more thing to ponder, and then we'll we don't have to go. We don't have to topic. We have to bring this topic up. Okay, so we just read it that there could be foreigners who come into the covenant and take on the covenant practice and become people of God.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Do you? Yeah, it's and God's very clear about that. You can always come into the covenant, and that's why it's really not about blood, necessarily. Now that Jesus is
but did
here,
it say covenant in here? I don't think it did.
Well, it said you take the sign of the covenant by. Remember, what the whole reason for the circumcision is to be a part of the covenant, right? That's the whole reason. Remember, Moses didn't circumcise his boys, and God came down to punish him.
Yeah,
and He said, "I'm gonna kill Moses." And the wife went over, circumcised the boys, and said, "You made me the bloody wife." Anyway, so my question is this: do you think those people are the same now in God's eyes? The ones who are foreigners, not let's just say Amorites, who now say, "Oh, I'm coming in. I'm gonna live with the Israelites, and I'm gonna become a Jew. I'm going to circumcise myself and my family, and we're in, baby. And now I can take part of Passover because I'm part of the covenant family."
Well, you're putting human opinion into the Scripture.
I'm not. That's exactly what it says.
No, I'm reading it right now. None of it says that. I could read it. The instructions of the Passover. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "These are the instructions of the festival of the Passover. No outsiders allowed. No outsiders are allowed to eat the Passover meal. But any slave who has been purchased may eat if he has been circumcised." 45, temporary residents of hired servants may not eat. Each Passover lamb must be eaten in one house. Do not carry any of its meat outside, and do not break any of its bones. The whole community of Israel must celebrate the Passover. 48. If there are foreigners living among you who want to celebrate the Lord's Passover, let all their males be circumcised. Only then may they celebrate the Passover with you like any native-born Israel. But no circumcised male will never eat the meal Passover. These instructions apply to everyone, whether native-born Israel or foreign living among you.
Yeah.
Where does it say covenant?
Well, what do you think? That's my point.
He's just saying if you want to celebrate,
so
you can eat and celebrate, but you have to be circumcised. That's all God is saying here.
Well, but let me ask you, what do you think a sign of the covenant is? What was that?
Being a Jewish person.
No.
Being a Israelite.
No, it's the circumcision of the male.
No, that is part of being. That is part of it. God wants everybody in the covenant that is in the covenant to be circumcised. Just because so you're saying because I get circumcised, I'm in the covenant of the Jewish people? I'm quote unquote covered? No, I'm covered in the Jesus covenant, the new covenant.
Yeah, but right. I understand that. Totally agree. I understand that. Okay. But I'm just wondering, what is this? Why would God Almighty say, if you have foreigners living among you, make sure they get circumcised if they want to partake in my festival or my dedication of Israel?
Because I think it's just a respect thing. If you're going to be a foreigner and you're going to join the meal and celebrate, then pay your respect.
So
that's my opinion.
So on a practical standard setting,
okay,
because we all have to live in a practical world, even though we honor God and follow everything He wants. I agree with that. Are you saying that Joe Smith outside decides to, I want to participate in this Passover deal, but then Moses looks at him and says, "You can, but first you have to take out your junk and cut off a piece of skin."
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
And then you can go back and live your own life.
Yeah.
So I just think it's way more significant than that.
I don't understand what you're saying. I just read it. I'm just reading it word for word here. It never says covenant. It never says any of that. That's my thing. It's I don't know. I mean, I don't have the answer, but it doesn't say, God said, if you cut your foreskin off in the party of the Passover, you are now in the Jewish covenant. It doesn't say that. I mean, is it strange? Do I understand why you would have to cut your foreskin off to celebrate? No.
Well, So we have to. The reason I bring that up is we have to also go back to and how things are. Remember in Genesis 17, for the generation to generation, every male must be circumcised on the 8th day. And this applies not only to members of your family, but also to servants born in your household or foreign servants.
Okay.
Verse 13, all must be circumcised, and this bears the mark of my everlasting covenant. And any male who fails to be circumcised will be cut off from my covenant family for breaking the covenant. So
but he's talking about the Israelites, foreigner Israelite. You have to read the whole chapter on that. That's not an Egyptian coming over to chop the foreskin off. You have to read the whole chapter in context.
Okay, right. So you're still saying that no one.
No, I'm just being.
No, I'm just
saying what the word is saying. Here's what you're doing is you're going into verses again.
Yeah.
And we've already talked about this. You have to read the chapter as a whole to understand the content of it.
Well, I did.
No,
and I'm even going back and using another passage to say, look how significant circumcision is in the Old Testament.
Oh, it is significant, but I don't think that just if you're an infidel and you get circumcised does not make you a Jew. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, I agree with that. I agree. But let me ask you this. If you are an outsider and you get circumcised in order to adhere to the Passover, I mean, that's pretty significant. Now you believe that God Almighty saved Israel from the strength of his arm. And you love him and follow him.
I think that it's like a pretty big sign that you do. But then again, it's the heart. I think God goes to the heart.
Me too.
I think he passes all of this and goes to the heart for the real answer. But I think it's a sign of just respect. I mean, I get what you're saying. I just...
Yeah, I don't have... I'm not going to die on the battlefield, but it's an interesting that he makes...
You have an interesting point.
He makes an allowance, from a foreign person who's not from Israel to come in and still, take part in Passover, which is pretty significant.
Yeah, no, it is. It's interesting for sure. Something to definitely study upon. We talk about the death angel. We talk about the, we've talked about the foreskin here getting circumcised and. All that kind of good stuff. So, I mean, we've talked about a lot, as we've read chapter 12. And so anybody listening, I just feel like, and me included, just study, read, dive in. And I think that over time as we read too, everything will, I think maybe connect even more. Even if you've read the Bible and twice, I think that sometimes you'll pick up on things. So, I mean, who am I? I mean, Brian, I'm not sitting here dying on any battlefield.
You're good. This is what it's about, man.
So...
Hey, it's about it's about reading the Bible, and then sometimes we'll throw in some technicals like let's figure this out.
Well, is the death angel is an interesting topic, and the heaven and the hell, and then the babies.
Very interesting question. People want to know this stuff,
right? What is the role of the death angel? How do they intertwine in this? And just so many questions that don't stumble us. I've made that clear multiple times. I know you have too, Brian. Is like because there's a lot of questions and some debate and talk, and none of this is stumbling. None of this is I got you. Like, oh, I'm gonna
exactly.
I think there's a lot of people that have questions that are looking for the I got you. The Bible's not true. That's not us. I'm just wanting to learn. When I see death angel came swooping over the Passover into Egypt, I'm thinking like, okay, let's break down this death angel.
Oh, exactly. And this is part of the process. If you're listening, or even John and I, we're taught. This is part of the process of learning and reading through the Scripture. When you let's say you're making a weightlifting program for 6 weeks, let's say you're making it with your wife or whoever your partner is in the team. Mm-hmm. You are gonna go through moments where you say, no, it needs to be from the blocks. You're like, no, from the ground by 3. You're gonna go in there and you're gonna struggle until you get a perfect situation, and that's the way the Word of God works. We struggle amongst each other, and then God says, hey, here it is.
Well, and like I was going to say, we're sharpening each other's swords here because we're learning, we're getting better. And, next time we're talking to somebody that has all these questions, we're going to be able to answer them better and explain things better. Or maybe we're in kind of a debate with an atheist and we're like defending God, and our swords are sharp with knowledge of the Word, and we could just go click, 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 just like the other guy last week did. So, I think it's good. But thank you guys for tuning in. Will's on here saying, John, you got to get to practice. So we have Google Hangout at 12 o'clock. I'm late. I got to go, but really awesome. Okay, good, Brian. The Passover chapter 12. We didn't get to 13. Obviously, we got into some deep conversations. I mean, gosh, everything from Hitler and just holy smokes, a lot of stuff. Death angel, the Passover, the Jewish people have been saved from Egypt, and God is good, and God has taken out evil, and really, actually, I hate to say it, evil has taken out themselves, because that's really what it pretty much is. So chapter 13.
Wow.
Chapter 13, evil takes out itself, and God will save the people that believe.
Well said.
Especially post or pre-Jesus here. If you believe in God, then that's an amazing thing. And in this time period, of course, when Jesus comes, believe in Jesus, of course, and be saved.
Amen.
Amen. But we'll see you guys back regular time tomorrow, 6 a.m. Pacific time.
Yep.
As we read. All right.
Well, salute.
We'll see you.
Thank you, guys.